Welcome to this mini online course in nonprofit marketing and the topic 3, which is about crafting effective messaging. This course is a part of Erasmus Plus project, nonprofit all-inclusive, and is co-funded by European Union. My name is Irina, and I'm the project manager for this project and also a founder at the organization Ideell Marknadsföring i Sverige, which translated as Non-Profit Marketing in Sweden, which is one of the organizations that runs this project. So we talked about the introduction, we talked about strategic aspects and value proposition and branding. Now it's time to talk about communicating all this to our target groups. So let's start with two approaches to communication. There are currently two fields. They are actually two separate scientific fields, sort of competing / being friends. The one is older, which is marketing. The other one is newer, which just started from 2007, and it is called strategic communication. Those two fields, they both approach communication from similar aspects like organizational communication, but from slightly different perspectives. Particularly, strategic communication places organization or a movement in the center, and the marketing approach places target group in the middle and focuses on target group. Those fields can be applied sort of at the same time, depending on what role you have and also what you are responsible for in the organization or a movement. But there is something that's really useful to take from the strategic communication field, and it is the reminder that communication is about making meaning together. So when we want to reach our target groups, we craft our messages and then we publish them in various channels. But when the target group reads the message, they also filter it and understand it from their own position, which is affected by the languages they know and speak and understand, the opinions and worldviews they have, how they interpret the message, and their own background and life circumstances and whatnot, and if they even the organizational culture in which they are part of, especially if you are reaching to other organizations. What you should strive for in marketing communication is to create a dialogue. It's impossible, or it's like very hard and not really ethical to just force your opinion onto a target group. Instead, you should constantly listen to target group to understand what is important right now and to understand, like, craft messages, publish, ask feedback, ask how did the target group understand and interpret the message. And so you need to create a joint reality where your movement or your organization is a part of natural order for you and your target group, some sort of shared reality. That's what I mentioned at the beginning, that the change is mutual. You want to make a change of behavior of your target group, but you as organization should also be able to change when target group tells you something and gives you feedback. So short reminder that marketing communications is a part of marketing mix, and which is together with sales is a part of P, promotion, promotional mix sometimes it is called, and that you should work consistently and strategically on other aspects of marketing also, not only marketing communications and promotion. Marketing communications consists of paid advertising, PR, and influence publicity, which is sometimes considered to be a separate aspect of marketing in some areas like sports, for example, and strategic communication. Interactive marketing, which is social media, direct marketing, which is newsletters. Then there are also sales, but we're not going to cover it. It's not that relevant to non-profit organizations, sometimes relevant. But our focus is on communications right now. So let's remember, let's recall what factors are influencing behavior of our target groups. And because the messages that we need to craft when we want to offer some solutions to the needs of the target group, we need to keep in mind those factors that influence the behavior. And the factors are the benefits that target groups perceive that they gain if they do certain behavior, change behavior in certain way that you offer. The costs that they pay, and keep in mind that it is not only money target groups pay with, but also time, energy, old habits, lifestyle, values sometimes. Then keep in mind that there are also others and surrounding that influences target groups' behavior, and sometimes we actually need to direct communication onto them instead. And then there is also self-assurance, which means that target group need to have motivation and know that it is worth to doing this behavior or changing this behavior, to know what is the opportunity, and it is your role to inform of the opportunity and educate how to do something. And the target group's ability that they believe they can actually do this, and you need to encourage them and remind them that it is possible. And what are the strategic approaches that you can think about when you're crafting messages, depending on those factors actually. So for example, if you as an organization offer some better solutions or improved solutions that will better meet the needs of the target groups, you need to inform the target group how you changed your approach so that now the solutions you offer fit target group needs better. Then you also can highlight the benefits that the target group didn't know about. You also sometimes need to work with opinions because they can be prejudices against the behavior that you would like to influence. And as I told, sometimes you need to aim the campaigns at the surrounding of a target group. For example, when we speak about domestic violence, we do not need only to craft campaigns towards the victims, but also towards the potential perpetrators. Because often this is where the problem is, so that the target group, which is the victims, the potential victims of the domestic violence, they feel safer. They have their need of safety met. And you can also strengthen, through your communications, try to strengthen the confidence of the target group through education, through encouragement and support. So let's recall also needs. Remember that needs can be latent and apparent, and the demand on what you offer, the solutions you offer, can also be unformed formed or sustainable. Unformed means that the needs are still in a latent form, and you need to create awareness about the possible solutions, that there can be solutions to satisfy the needs, and you need to show benefits of the solutions. Then when the needs are already apparent and the demand is formed, then you need to offer specific solutions. Like, target groups know what they need. Tell me how what you offer can solve it. And if there are already solutions and you offer something better, you offer better solutions, so work on making the solutions more effective, and then also inform target groups about how your solutions are better and more effective. And again, keep in mind that it is totally natural that not every one of the target group will start using your solution, trying your solutions at once. There will be always those very small amount of innovators who will be the first ones to try. Then there will be more and more, and some parts of your target group will only change in the way that you offer and via the solution you give only when what you offer has become a norm. So you need to basically change the whole society to reach some of the parts of the target groups. So when we promote different aspects of non-profit organization or movement, we can speak about products, services, or ideas, pure behaviors. Let's start with products. A product is something which is tangible and concrete and is offered to create some value. For example, even if it is digital, for example, this course is a digital product. Products, it's important that they are usually, and they should be, secondary to the mission of the organization or a movement, and they should be a support for it. For example, the purpose of our organization is to strengthen the voice of civil society. And one thing that we do for it is we educate about non-profit marketing so that non-profit organizations and movements can use it to become more effective and to reach out better. What you need to think about when crafting messages for a product, for products. First of all, connect to your mission, and the product should be clearly connected, or like it should be in the message, it should be clearly stated how the product is connected to your mission. And it's better to create some emotional connection. The example is the pink band for the movement that fights against breast cancer and non-profits. Then you need to have a clear message, and if it is products that can be purchased for money, you need to tell how the revenue from it contributes to the movement and its mission, this change that you want to create in society, and be transparent about it also. Tell how resources are used to create this product and in the rest of the organization too. You can use storytelling, you can use examples, you can use recommendations from those who use the product. And remember that the long-term commitment is the most important. Like, this is just a part. Product is just a way to create a bond relationship between the target audience and your organization and movement. And there should be other ways. It shouldn't be just the only way. It should be other ways to connect to your target group besides the product. Next is services. What are the traits of services which make it so special First of all, services are intangible and they are inseparable for a performer. And then they also vary depending on when and who performs it. They disappear on execution and then involve the recipient into the effort. Think about hairdressers, which is a part of a non-profit that offers training for the asylum seekers to get a profession so they can then work with in the future. And the hairdressers they have students who need also people to practice on. When you do some campaign to invite those people who want to try, for example, haircut for free, then the quality of the haircut will depend a lot on how experienced this student is. Sometimes it's even how tired they are. Maybe they have had trouble sleeping last night and then they would perform worse. And then it's very hard to do a haircut without the hairdresser. And it's very hard to do a haircut without the actual head of the actual person who receives it. And then when the haircut is done, then it's done. So, what do you need to think about when crafting messages about services in a nonprofit organization? First of all, use the symbols. For example, again, the pink band for the breast cancer movement. This is a sort of tangible sign of something, of an intangible service. Symbols are used very often for non-profit organizations and movements. You can think about pride flag and many other examples. Then you need also to educate about how the target audience should use this service so that it maximizes the value for them. Also, remember to always constantly adjust your service to the changing needs of your target groups. Like the needs will change always, and you need to always change yourself to as an organization and movement and the services you offer. Adjust and inform the target group about those changes. And then also lower the expectations about the services. Say again, we take this hairdresser. If it is the volunteers or if it is like the students who are performing it and that is why it is for free, inform about this so that the customers do not expect too high quality, that they know that it's students who are practicing. So, and also inform the target group so that they do not expect too much. They do not expect the service to be a magic trick that helps us everything. So what about pure behavior? Sometimes there are ideas and behaviors that doesn't contain services or products, and you can follow these stages, these steps when you craft a message about a pure behavior. Say it's usually is about starting doing something, gain some good habit, or stopping doing something. For example, getting rid of a bad habit. Then, so these are the steps. So you can follow them when crafting a message. First, you need to tell that when target audience performs this behavior, or vice versa, refrains from this behavior, then the target group gets following benefits. Then you need to remind that there are also costs, the following costs, and in which way they can be reduced. If there are, and they usually are. If there are others influencing and trying to discourage the target group, tell target group how they should handle it. and remind the target group that there are also those who support them. For example, community, which is dealing with the similar problem as them, and give an example and encourage target group to listen to these people or these organizations and so on, or communities. And then also try to explain how the target group can make it easier so that they feel that they actually can, that they trust their ability to perform this behavior or refrain from the behavior, how the result can be achieved. So, when you craft a message, there is another scheme, template that you can follow. It's called message map. Most probably you already use it, consciously or not, because it makes sense, so to say. And it basically says what parts your message should consist of and in what order. So first, you need to have some short, concise core message to grab attention of people. Some people will only read only this message. It should be interesting enough. Then supported by some key points, and then even more supporting points for those who want to read more and more. And then you can add some examples, facts, recommendations, and so on. So basically, you add a level of more detailed information for those who want to read it to make a decision. Not everything of this message map you can use in all the channels, because some channels have very short fields. For example, advertising in social media, you probably will be able to use only core message and key points, and maybe a couple of supporting points, but you can adjust it to the channel. And when speaking about the channel, there is a model which is called PSO model, which divides all the channels into paid, earned, shared, and owned. The division that I offer might differ depending on who you ask about, but basically the paid channels are those where you need to pay to use them, like paid ads in social media, for example, even offline commercials and printed materials, souvenirs, and so on. Owned media is something that you own, and it's not only owned channels. It's something you own, even if you have to pay for it, for example, for a website, but to a big extent, it's also content that you have. For example, webinars or books, manuals, and so on. Website is considered to be own channel. Then there are shared channels. It's basically where the channels that you do not actually own, but where information that someone else owns, for example, social media companies, but where you can share information and other people also share information all the time. Own accounts in social media, some people consider to be a shared media, some people consider to be a mix of owned and shared media. And then there are also earned channels. Earned channels require effort, and until you're able to use them, and it is recommendations, reputation, and so on, press coverage. Influencers is considered to be a combination of earned and shared. So the one thing that is important to keep in mind when choosing channels for your messages is that if the audience is there, if your target group is there, or if your segment of target groups is there, you need to be present and you need to reach out to those channels and through those channels which your target group uses. And we talked about it a little bit in the previous lesson. And one thing that is very common in marketing and marketing communications, contra strategic communications, sometimes it is used as an argument, that in marketing communications everything is planned as campaigns, so which is basically mini projects, and every campaign starts with listening. So you need to listen to your target group to know how you can create those shared meaning, shared reality through the message and between your organization and your target group. Then you need to plan, then you need to pre-test. So you need to actually test the idea, for example, on a small segment or with a smaller budget, if it actually works to reach this particular target group on this particular channel before launching a large-scale campaign with larger budget. Then, if it works, then you should proceed with it, but you need to follow up constantly and adjust. And then, after the campaign, revise the results and reuse if it worked. Keep it as an example of organizational learning. So now we talked about what you need to keep in mind when crafting your message, the structure of message, the channels that you can use, and how you plan a campaign in general terms. I hope I'm gonna see you in the next lesson, which is about social media. And thank you for joining this course.